Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about 5 types of people you must avoid in relationships. You got to do it. So it just so happens that all of these people, all these traits or types of people I'm going to talk about are often true of the narcissist. In other words, the narcissist exemplifies all 5 types of people that I'm going to discuss today. But I'm telling you guys, the way the world is, which is broken and shot and corrupt beyond all belief, worse every day, worse with every waking second, it seems like. Relationships break down, people are toxic. Even people who aren't toxic are doing toxic things. It doesn't seem like anything really can work with people anywhere. It's a bad state of affairs. It's the days of Noah 2.0. Go read Matthew 24, where Jesus talks about the last days. Seems very much to be the way it is. So we have to be on guard today more than ever. And so beware of these 5 types of people. Okay? So the first one I'm going to talk about, I have them written down here. Avoid the breadcrumber. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. But this is the person who wants to keep you on the hook but not do anything with you. They want to regularly blow your phone up or get you on the phone or string you along in 900 kinds of ways, but they don't want to actually meet up with you really. They don't want to get anything going. They don't want to actually enter into a relationship with you. And these types of people will typically tell you how hesitant they are to get in relationships, how cautious they are, and all that stuff is great if it's true. It's true for many of us. It's true for me. But they don't mean it when they're telling you this stuff. That's a smokescreen, as always. So they're going to be all cautious and they don't want to do this and they don't want to rush into anything. And so, but they want to blow your phone up, say on a Saturday evening for 3 hours or a Sunday evening or certain times when it is good for them to talk to you, they want to talk to you. If it's not good for them, they're off with somebody else. That's what that means. They're off doing something with somebody else, but they want to keep you on the hook. Just come in and see me. Just hey, we should do this. Future faking. The breadcrumber typically future fakes too about everything that's going to happen and going to transpire in the relationship. You might go to an event that they planned and they invited you to, but it's not a date because they don't really want to go on a date or anything like that. No, they're just too cautious for that. But they might invite you to an event, a public thing where they're going to be there, and they might say, well, next year when we do this, that's future faking. But it's also a type of breadcrumbing because it's really future faking to me is breadcrumbing in a sense because it's giving you a little bit, a little taste of something that's to come or that could be there, but will never actually be there. So be aware of the person who you feel like is just trying to keep you in place and string you along. And they're usually very absent. They're here, they're there, they're hit or miss. They can't you can't talk to them on evenings when you want to, but there'll be times when they want to and they're all over your phone. And you just overall can't get them to meet up. They can't be consistent with their behavior, but they want to keep you in the picture. That's because you're being groomed as a backup, probably, and they have somebody else or some other people, but they're holding you on the shelf just in case they want to take you off of there like some little toy. So if you feel like you're being breadcrumbed by a person, uh, trust your gut because you probably are, and run as far and fast away from the breadcrumber as you can. Another type of person, the burner. The burner. Okay, well, what's the burner? The burner is somebody who has in their history nothing but basically an endless series of short burnout relationships. Nothing ever works. Nothing has ever worked in their entire history, not even for a little while, not even for a little bit, usually. And they just go boom, ba 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 boom through relationships. And oftentimes the burner will tell you that's what they are without obviously using that term. Because they're going to say, well, my relationships are usually short lived. They usually don't last very long. I find fault with people or this or that, or my relationships don't tend to last. Or if it's their biggest, longest entanglement, they'll tell you stuff like, "Well, it was never very good. It was only good for a really short time. It was never really good." So you put it together, and you're like, "Well, okay." Endless cycle of relationships, none of which ever pan out. Who's the common denominator? Or if they don't tell you these things, you can piece it together on your own. It's really easy to do if you just listen to people. Let them talk and expose themselves. Because they will talk about how, well, I had a child with this person, and that's this person's dad, and that's this person's mom, and during this time I lived with this person, and then I was back at home, and then there was this person, and or this person used to come into the store and see me, or here's where I was in this phase of life, and you start to piece things together, and you're like, okay, so there was that, her dad, and his dad, and this period of time, and then you lived, okay, and you start connecting the dots, and you start to think, oh, wait a minute, that's about 10 people, that's about 12 people, that's about 15 people that were in your history that no doubt they were sleeping with or living with or both. And guys, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And that's not including the people you don't know about, because they don't tell you everyone. But you can piece it together. The burner has this endless cycle of repetitious relationships that all flame out very quickly. They burn hot and then they flame out, and they're hot and cold and hot and cold and on and off and on and off. Be aware of anybody. In other words, guys, yes, we can discriminate on a person's past because, yes, their past behavior usually is the best predictor of their future behavior. It's just reality. So be aware of the burner. Another one, be aware of the collector. This is going to be a controversial one for you guys, but here we go. So, collector of what? The collector of attention, the collector of male or female orbiters, as we call them. An orbiter is like the moon orbits the earth and things like that. It's somebody who's always around in that atmosphere. It's a planetary orbiter. And they're always around you, orbiting, hanging around, hanging around, hanging around. That's what an orbiter is. And be aware of anybody, in other words, guy or girl, who has a lot of male or female friends, people of the opposite sex. If a girl has a lot of male friends she regularly talks to, she regularly hangs out with, just a lot of dudes in her life, run for the stinking hills. Ladies, if a guy has a lot of women around him orbiting, lots of female friends, he's regularly on the phone, texting, talking, hanging out, run for the stinking hills. I'm telling you right now, because men and women most of the time cannot be close, tight friends. Not saying they can't be friends, but they cannot be closely connected because one of the other is going to like the other almost every time. Again, I know it's controversial. I'm not talking in absolutes because nothing is an absolute. As a man, I can speak to this from the perspective, look, men, guys, single men, do not try to buddy up, hang out, talk, text, do things with women that they don't have interest in. They flat out don't do it. And I know the ladies, I've talked to so many women, that's not true. He's just a friend. Nothing would ever happen. You'd like to think that it's not accurate. Men, drop comments below. I'm not saying that I don't have any female friends at all that I communicate with at some level. I do, at some level. But I'm not regularly hanging out with them, spending a bunch of time with them, having them on the phone all the time. And I certainly wouldn't be doing so if I was in a relationship. It's not right. There's no boundaries there. And I can say for me, most of the time in my life, when I have ever tried to befriend a woman, I liked her. And most of the time, if a woman ever tried to befriend me, she liked me. And that's just the way that it works. So if that person has a bunch of orbiters, you need to watch out, because you can rest assured that those people, most of them, like this person and they're just waiting for their opportunity. They're hanging around, orbiting around, so that when they're available again, or when they get an opportunity to make a pass, or in case this person gets in the right place, maybe it'll work out between us. If I just hang around long enough, I might get my shot. That's what most of them are thinking. Not all, but most. Don't fool yourselves. This is exactly why men and women, particularly, especially in marriages, should not have close, tight friends of the opposite sex. Stuff happens. You're playing with fire. And I have seen it again and again and again and again. And also, person who has to have a lot of attention from the opposite sex is an attention hog. They like, you're not enough for them because they need validation from multiple people. That's why most of the time I've dealt with women who have a ton of guy friends. They need the constant validation. You're not going to be enough to fill them. They're going to confide in these male friends. They're going to hang out with them. They're going to give them attention that you should be getting from your relationship partner. Don't do it. And guys, it's just a matter of time usually till something occurs. Or someone tries something with somebody. And this happened to me in my longest term relationship. Somebody who was just a friend ended up replacing me in the end for a period of time. This is how it works. Be aware, run away from the orbiter, the collector of orbiters. Here's another one. Run away and avoid the critic. Self-explanatory, but it's important. The person who you know is just critical. And this happens usually pretty fast. Passive aggressively, little bites, little digs, little comments. Send them a picture of yourself because you're talking back and forth. And they're going to say, there's a lot of lint on your shirt. You need to do a better job with that. Not nice picture, but man, you need to clean your shirt better. Or you send them a picture like, your beard is big in that picture. Or you send them a picture and they're like, the picture looks old because you're old. So many different things, guys. Just digs, comments that don't sit right with you. I know we all can make those sometimes. I've done it myself. Things it didn't mean it to come off the way that it sounded. We've all done that. But this person just consistently takes little shots at you that have to be intentional. Run away because the worst is yet to come. Anybody who's going to be critical with you at all early on, even kind of a little bit, that's going to ramp up and get worse and worse and worse. Remember, guys, those of you who have been with a narcissist, it started out with little passive aggressive, jokey comments. Oh, you can't do this. And, oh, you can't light this. And you don't know how to work the burner. You don't know how to make garlic bread. You don't. Oh. And it escalates and escalates into downright, you can't cook, you can't clean, you're no good, you're not reliable, you're a bad partner. You're a bleeping F and S and F and F and bleep, bleep, bleep. Yeah. Be really leery of people who are like that. Run away from the person who starts to show you criticism because it's going to get worse and ramp up. Another one. And guys, this is uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, we have to be aware of this stuff for our own good. You must avoid, as a relationship partner, people who have been highly traumatized. We're not talking about, guys, giving up on people as a friend. We're not talking about giving up on people's salvation, their spiritual life, trying to reach them, being there for people. We're talking about a relationship partner in specifically, possibly a spouse. You do not want to get involved with a person who has a lot of trauma in their background. You don't. Because, guys, that is not going to ever get thoroughly resolved in all likelihood with countless hours of therapy. Even if they're willing to do that, it might help, it might do something. But I'm telling you right now, you meet people and they start to share with you really awful, dreadful events that stick with them, and they might just tell you, the trauma keeps me up at night. I'm like this because of the trauma. You need to really get away. And it's not giving up on the person, it's giving up on them as a potential relationship partner. Christ doesn't give up on us because we have problems. I'm not saying you should do that with people in a spiritual way, but you should if you're trying to bind yourself to that person. Because, guys, it isn't going to work. And they are going to blame you for their trauma, and they're going to take their past issues out on you. And whatever that looks like, abuse as a child, neglect as a child, people who tortured them in relationships, supposedly, or maybe they did or didn't. Really awful events that have scarred them that they'll share with you, and they often will become blubbery messes. And I'm not making light of this, it's sad. But I'm telling you, you don't want to try to spend your life with this kind of person. When you start to hear of a highly traumatized person, you need to maybe be there for them in some capacity, but do not try to make them your husband or wife, because that is not going to work. You are going to wish to God the rest of your life you hadn't done that. And these types of people oftentimes are going to bail on you anyway. When the going gets tough, they're going to be gone. They're going to have trouble seeing you any different than other people, than their past abusers. They're going to abuse you because they were abused. Don't do it. I'm telling you right now, don't do it. So these are all the types of people that if you run into this, you need to run for the hills. But there's a bonus. I got one more for you. Run away from the outcast. Do I mean outcast from society? Well, not necessarily, because there's a lot to be said for living more of a loner kind of life. I do that. Many of you do that. There's safety in it. There's wisdom in kind of being kept to yourself to a degree and having a small circle. What I mean is, by the outcast, the person who has almost no friends or family that have really been in their lives. They don't really have sisters or brothers or mom or dad, or they're just, or close friends they've had for a long period of time. Nobody's really that close and tight with them. They're kind of an island of their own. You need to watch out for that, because most of the time, that's because those people can't stand to be around them. I get it. There are times where you were the person in a very highly toxic family and you had to get out. That does happen. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the person who their family and friends ran away from them, or the person's just so disagreeable that they cannot get along with anybody long enough to have a stable, healthy friendship or familial relationship. If you meet a person and they basically are kind of just all on their own and they don't really have anybody that's been a fixture in their life, there's a reason for that. And 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100, it's them. So watch out for those people. So, guys, let me recap this real quick and then wrap it up. 5 types of people you must avoid in relationships. That's the key, in relationships. Sometimes friendships too, but definitely relationships. The breadcrumber, the burner, the collector, the critic, the highly traumatized, and the outcast. So, guys, like I said, there is no formula where it's 100% of all these, but by and large, it's not going to work out with any of these people. So you are better off by odds to disappear from them. Because the vast majority of the time, it ain't going to end well. So anyway, guys, drop comments below. Tell me if I'm right or wrong about these types. And tell me if you have a type that, hey, you meet this kind of person, you need to run for the hills. I'm interested to hear what you guys say. So thanks for new subscribers. If you haven't done so, please do that. Drop comments below, and I'll come at you again with another one soon. Until then, God bless.